I now move to other members and I call on Deputy Gillian Toole.
At this point in time, every member of Dáil Éireann has received an email with information relating to a protected disclosure. That's PD 2025, number 17. And that protected disclosure has been made by a conscientious health professional. And I'm raising that matter today as a matter of the utmost gravity because that healthcare professional, as far back as June and July of this year, has attempted to get the matters relating to public health addressed by HICWA, the Department of Justice, the Department of Health and the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland, to name but four. And at this point in time, the lack of addressing the issue goes to the very heart of public trust in our democracy. The submission is evidence-based and it contains a combination of clinical information and ethical common sense. And despite the seriousness of the allegations and repeated good faith to follow up, no meaningful investigation has been undertaken to this point in time. FISRU, the body tasked with examining such inaction, has received complaints of this failure to investigate crimes and itself thus far has failed to act. Now, there are government departments and state agencies implicated, and yet all persons in Ireland are equal before the law. And our Constitution does not allow the state to shield itself from scrutiny. So, Taoiseach, there is a profound conflict of interest here. And the Gardaí cannot credibly investigate wrongdoing when those accused sit within the very structures that direct Garda oversight and funding. So, Taoiseach, will you now commit to the establishment of an independent external investigation into the handling or non-handling of these serious reports by An Garda Síochána, the Department of Health and the Department of Justice? And finally, will you publish the correspondence and internal assessments that thus far have resulted in no investigation being opened?
Thank you. Taoiseach, please.
First of all, Ireland's whistleblower protection framework is governed by the Protected Disclosures Act of 2014. I mean, there's very set frameworks here, legal and so on, in terms of governing the handling and the management of protected disclosures. But that Act was significantly strengthened by the Protected Disclosures Amendment Act of 2022. And this legislation commenced operation on the 1st of January 2023, gives effect to the European Union Whistleblowing Directive. Now that provides protection against penalisation for workers in both the public and private sector. And also the Act introduced a number of significant changes, including that the burden now rests on the employer to prove that any action taken was justified and unrelated to the disclosure. And there's much, much more, and it was expanded the protections to a broader category of workers, including contractors, volunteers, agency workers, board members, shareholders, job applicants. And then Section 7 protects against retaliation, unfair dismissal, and so forth. And then workers who experience penalisation have access to the WRC and so forth. The Office of the Protected Disclosures Commissioner was established in 2023. Now, it plays a key role in ensuring disclosures are directed to the appropriate prescribed persons, prescribed persons. And this is important. There has to be a systemic approach to the handling of disclosures. So in 2024, the OPDC, that's the Office of Protected Disclosures Commissioner, received 262 reports, with the vast majority transmitted to the relevant authorities. And then to support whistleblowers, the Office, or the Disclosures Commissioner, continues to fund Transparency International Ireland, which operates a free Speak Up helpline and legal advisory centre. 2025 funding of 368,000 was allocated for that purpose. And you know, you've raised issues in terms of how the protected disclosure in this case was handled by the relevant agencies. Now, FISRU is there as an external independent entity to handle complaints in respect of members of An Garda Síochána. And so that's there in that context. HIQA is there as an independent body that is focused on quality within the healthcare system and also does carry out investigations and inquiries and so on. And what you seem to be suggesting then is that we should either add a new layer to this, or that we should reintroduce the Oireachtas into, or the executive into, examining every disclosure. I don't think that's feasible, and that can be challenging as well, given the volume of disclosures. Now, Section 2A of the Protected Disclosures Amendment Act does provide for a statutory review of the Act to be commenced not later than 5 years from the date of the Act. And that review is due to commence in 2027. And a public consultation will be carried out prior to this review.
So all of the processes have been followed, including contacting the Office of the Protected Disclosure Commissioner. But my point is, by referencing the other agencies, is that there is silence. And this is a matter of serious public health. And when I cross-check the criteria and scopes, and I cross-check with the COVID-19 evaluation committee that the Department of the Taoiseach established, under scope and exclusions are the very matters that are included within this protected disclosure. The care of older people in nursing homes between 2020 and 2022. The administration of gene therapy to people during the same time period, and various other evidential and research-based issues that have arisen since then, even in other jurisdictions, and have been the subject of PQ. So again, I would ask the question, will there be an inquiry into this protected disclosure as a matter of urgency?
Well, two things. First of all, in terms of the COVID-19, there is, government has established an evaluation of the management and the state response to COVID-19. Which was an unprecedented public health event across the world that had the most significant and severe impacts on societies and on people. The more fundamental objective has always been to try and protect and save life, and people acted in very good faith to do that. And I just want to make that point. What we're reluctant to do is add a new layer now, because this will go on forever. I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. There has to be a system to deal with protected disclosures. We can't add new layers, and I think we can review it in the context of how the Act is working. But, I mean, ideally, we should be able to deal with protected disclosures within the legislation. And people should respond, because the last thing we want is further and more public inquiries. And statutory-based public inquiries, which can go on for years.
Thank you, Taoiseach. We now move to members on questions on policy or legislation. The first speaker is Deputy Mairead Farrell.
And I also want to welcome the Greybridge Classic Club, and I'd only love to be part of your